Agowa Lydia. Campus suicides. There is a rising case of students ending their lives before graduating. Find out their connection to old school parents, Lungula, and drugs. These and more stories, including why Kenyan auctioneers repent on Sundays, what will happen to your Instagram photos after death, and why Jimmy Kibaki has ventured into betting. The Nairobian. It doesn't wrap meat. Grab your copy now.
Apart from the work you're doing, is there anything else that you could have been able to do because your previous school, the traditional school system, could not be able to decipher that out for you? You want to invest. Where is your investment more likely to work for you? What are you, more than the grades, more than the experience, more than the work that you're doing, that can make you, one, to increase your opportunity or to touch the lives of others?
Comes in the header. This is going to be a foul.
Giselle Ansley with a drag flick from a penalty corner.
And a drop. Carney's into the ball as well. He might not lead any of them.
Bookmaker Company. This is KTN News.
Welcome back, your Morning Express, and this is Week in Review. We want to take a look at some of the stories that have made headlines in the course of this week. Of course, first of all, it's that sad news from the bus incident that happened. Kenya lost 56 lives. A lot of families and friends are still coming to terms with that accident. Hence, our Twitter poll question this morning: do you think that NTSA should be put back on the roads? Do you think NTSA should be put back on the roads? Would love to hear your honest, brutal thoughts on that. Tweet us at KTN News, at @Zinzi_K. The hashtag is Morning Express KTN. That's your ticket into the conversation. So allow me to pick it up from there and reintroduce my panel this morning for viewers who are just joining us. Very closer to me, I have Honorable Joe Mutambo. He's a former Member of Parliament from Mwingi Central. At the center, Nerima Wako, Executive Director at Siasa Place. And on my far left, he is a lawyer, Nick Piketty. It's always good to have you with us here, Nerima. Welcome to the show. So perhaps let me begin with you. Our Twitter poll question this morning, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think we should have NTSA back on the road?
First, I think it's a little bit worrying because we believe that for things to work out, we need to have a watchman.
Right.
We're seeing with that accident, there are many issues that were concerned in terms of not following safety procedures, the kind of driver
overloading.
Exactly. So it means that we only do things right when we know that there's somebody to make sure that they are watching, that we're doing the right things. I would not necessarily, it's just an issue about having NTSA back. It's about people following the systems that have been put in place for the safety of our citizens. That's a concern for me. And also, it's a little bit concerning when you see those sort of issues happening and us as a people, we sit silently. You know, for people to be sitting on crates or to be squeezed into a bus. And we see it even in our own matatus, where there are not enough seatings, but people will still push to be able to fit a few people in a row, and no one says anything.
No one says it, right.
And so I think it's about time that not only do we follow the law, but also as a people we be concerned for our own safety. And yes, I think NTSA should be put back on the roads for the safety of Kenyans, but not as the only priority taken into action.
All right, here's the reason why you should grab a copy of the Standard newspaper this morning. Listen to this. One of the things that was said is that the original driver who was supposed to actually drive this specific bus, he refused. He says that the vehicle did not have brake linings and they were completely worn out. This is the original driver who was supposed to be driving this bus, and he further alleged that the scheduled driver had refused to drive the bus in that condition, so the operators had to look for another, hence the 72-year-old bus driver who also succumbed to his injuries. And that just goes to highlight what you're saying, Nerima, that everything needs to be in question. But Nick, that's the thing. We've talked about integrity, even right now with Mheshimiwa. And we say that we as Kenyans need to also put ourselves on the spotlight. Nevertheless, at the end of the day, who is to blame? These are 52 lives. The other question, and we're going to get to that, but there were also no roadblocks. There were no roadblocks, and the bus was traveling at night. Not to be suspicious, but this looks as if it was planned or it was choreographed. That's the sad part. There were no roadblocks, no police on that entire stretch, and the bus was traveling at night. It was an overload. The official driver refused to drive the bus in that condition, and that's the other thing, the standards of the PSVs that we have on our roads. But Nick, just your thoughts on that.
I use that route very often because I come from Kitale. And sometimes you're forced to drive in the evenings. Of late, hardly do you find those roadblocks. There's a time the roadblocks used to be so many. We also complained that the roadblocks are so many. It was actually an East African issue. I think, Mheshimiwa, at that time in Parliament, that the issue actually was that our policemen were taking bribes. So they were being removed, not for the issue that they're actually checking the vehicles, but because every stop was a bribe collection. It was a toll station to collect the bribes. So you'll find that there's been a bit of a slow on having the roadblocks. I don't know about this. I was listening to the IG yesterday, and he was saying that there's some police commandants or other the county commandants that will have to take responsibility for this because the traffic roadblocks were supposed to have been there. But then let's start from the time, like my colleague has just said, this bus, I'm told, the material
of the PSV
or the vehicle itself was extremely light material, the quality. That's why you saw it shattered like that. The question of the brakes, PSV vehicles are supposed to be taken for a routine checkup.
Yeah.
So there's so many heads that are supposed to roll. But as I had somebody say, I think it was the chairman of the road users or somebody yesterday on TV, and he said, we've had this narrative so many times. And I totally agree, and I've said this here when I arrived, and I've said it in many other programs here. The question of character for Kenyans, personal character, we must be consistent. We lost a number of children the other day in somewhere in Ukambani. We made noise like we cried for a few weeks.
Then
the president, that was it. We must have consistency,
so Nick,
and consistency is a product of character.
Who is to blame? Is it the IG? Is it the CS? Is it the police commandant? Who is to blame? Because at the end of the day, is what you're saying, we will make noise, we will point figures, but no justice will be done. In
developed, like Mheshimiwa, I've had him say here, he's traveled a lot. In developed democracies, the buck stops with the topmost person. We should start with the IG, because that is his direct mandate. And if he's not taking responsibility, he should tell us who should take responsibility.
Mheshimiwa, who should take responsibility?
From where I sit, let me tell you this. The blame goes to everyone, including those who died. Sorry to say that. Why? And what do I mean? Is bringing out a very fundamental aspect of society character. Why would you board a bus or a matatu or any other or a mkokoteni if it is full in the first place? Why would you do that? That is number one. That's the question you would want to ask yourself. Then number two, if we are not concerned about the character, why would we want a police officer to be on the road to look for us? Why can't we? I mean, it's our lives. I've seen somebody hike you, you know, there are police officers on the road, and I don't have insurance. You don't buy insurance for police officer, for God's sake.
It's for your own good.
It's for your own safety. Somebody says, you know, I had not put a belt, and there's a police officer. So you are struggling to put when you see the police officer. Why are you doing that? So that boils down now to their character is talking about. Then in number two, we have been treated to house being built on a rock. I do not understand. Why are we building our houses on rock? And what is the philosophy of the rock? What we need to do, we have seen that human beings, as they are, you cannot control them, number one. So they need another system to control. And that's why I'm saying we need to put systems, instead of having, we replace police officers, the traffic police officers, with new technology. The technology is there, and it can be offered. We have so many brilliant young men in this country who can come up with the solutions for how to curb road carnage in our country.
Right.
Are they given an opportunity? No. Why? Because they are not politicians.
Or they don't know the who's who.
They are not known anywhere. I can tell you, if you give Kenyans a chance and ask Kenyans, what can we do to bring this to an end? The ideas you will get in this country, you will not be even able to implement all of them. And you will be sorted out. You will never get any road accident because people will toe the line. You know, when I have a camera watching at me,
you behave.
I behave. But when I have a police officer watching at me, I will not be able to tell him 10,000
because I will break
or 2,000. But you cannot give a camera 2,000 shillings.
That's true.
And when a camera detects my points, and I get to a police station or I get to a gas station and I cannot get fuel because my card has got no points, then I will start behaving.
But you say that, and that reminds me of a specific scenario. There's a time that we put cameras around Nairobi, but they're not working.
They are, let me tell you.
So why are we not...
invested, ask me, I'll tell you.
Right.
We have invested a lot of money. Ask Safaricom how much they got to put the cameras.
So where are those cameras, where are those securities when we are looking?
Everywhere, and they are not being used. We used the money, it went, and that's it.
That's the sad part. So we bring in technology, but then someone eats. So that technology can also do its job at the end of the day.
Correct.
Nerima.
I mean, there are so many things, you know. So my office is in town, and it's just next to railways. And these days, the matatus don't even stop for you to board the matatu. And it's because police officers say it's creating traffic. And it happens also at Koja. Sometimes they just get in a mood because of the traffic, and they're like, move. And I've seen people jumping into matatus while they're moving, because that's how you board now. To the point where it's concerning if a pregnant woman has to get on a matatu.
Right.
It's dangerous.
Or a disabled person.
Exactly. And so now you begin to think, do we value people's lives? Not just any life, I'm talking about poor people's lives. The answer is no. And it's something that I was at a function yesterday where Dr. Wandia Njoga was speaking. And she said something that was so revealing to me. She said, as a Kenyan people, we've lost our sense of humanity.
Correct.
I live. My life matters. But we exist as though what we get is good enough.
Correct.
And we cannot live like that anymore, because it's getting to a point where we're actually putting ourselves in danger. I even thought once, maybe I should record this and report this, because this is so dangerous, but the people actually doing this are not seeing the danger of them just trying to board a matatu. They can actually injure themselves where they might never be able to walk again. I mean, it makes no logical sense. But we do so many things where we find ourselves in spaces, they don't make sense. The same way, because we work in town, you can find someone is being robbed and people are just watching. At least it's not me. Afadhali mimi, wacha nikimbie.
Let me not get involved.
Let me not get involved. And that's where we have become. And in a sense, we can almost blame, there are so many issues happening around us, and I think economically, people are suffering so much, they're just seeing the value of saving money. Maybe that bus ride was cheaper. That's what they could afford.
Maybe they need to get to a job.
They needed to. Exactly. So when we look at it, there are so many other factors people are more concerned about than their own lives. To where, at least here, I'm going to save some money, wacha niende usiku, nitalipa hivi, let me go at least with my 5 children, I'm paying for 1 child to sit here. These are the concerns. So when somebody's safety becomes almost
pegged to economic success,
yes, then you begin to worry that we don't look at each other as humans, and we lose that dignity.
Because I'm sure even those same people that you're saying who get onto a matatu as it's moving, they need to get somewhere. They need to get an extra shilling. They need to do something to survive and get food for tomorrow.
Too tough.
Right.
Things are too tough.
All right, President Uhuru Kenyatta's response on Twitter. This is what he says: "My heartfelt condolences to the families of fellow Kenyans who lost their lives." He goes on to say, "As authorities investigate the cause of the accident with a view of taking action, I would like to remind drivers to always exercise caution to avoid catastrophic incident." Nick, is this really a valid response from the president? He tweets, then what? These are 52 people who have lost their lives. Not to compare, but if this was perhaps politicians who were on a 5-seater plane that crashed somewhere, then, you know, everyone will be talking about it. President Uhuru Kenyatta will be going to visit families. A 3-day mourning would be declared. But just 2 tweets and then that's it.
The president has perfectly captured what Nerima said. That driver, his psychological state, his consciousness, the owner of that bus, is exactly the same with our leaders in this country. We've lost value. Like she correctly put it, there is no better way to express it. We've lost value for a life in this country. And if you go to other democracies, one life of an American, it will be chaos in this country. You've seen it in other countries where they're going to rescue their one citizen.
I know, Iraq, we've had those stories.
Yes. And in this country, we've, like you've correctly said, 52 lives are gone. The president sends a tweet. Of course, like you said, if it was Mheshimiwa so-and-so, it would be a big issue. My concern, and I'll repeat it, and I don't think it should be a long story that we can talk about, it is time that we step back and start from ourselves and ask ourselves, what is the value of my life? Once you find value for your life, then you'll start being concerned like she was with that lady boarding the bus when it's moving, with who you are electing, with who's teaching your child, who's treating you, and who's treating the society. It will be a common concern. We need a cumulative, total, put together value. Without that, we're going to go around these issues forever, like Mheshimiwa said, until Jesus Christ comes back. We've lost a sense of value for life. And it is becoming worse, where we're being driven into now an animal instinct, just survival.
Survival, right. Honorable Mutambo, your thoughts on that and President Uhuru Kenyatta's response?
First and foremost, what we need to realize is that, yes, people can argue that if it were a politician or if it were profile people, president would go there. To me, I think a word of console is important coming from the president. Let us give him credit. It would have been worse if he kept quiet. But if we spoke about it, that is one thing. But I will not dwell on what we have lost. I would want to spend my energy on what should we do so that we stop this. I would want to argue what we need to do, not what we have done and where we are and why we cannot come out from that position. That is what I would want to spend my energy on that. And talking about President Uhuru Kenyatta, I think President Uhuru Kenyatta is in dilemma because you don't know what to do. And this has been necessitated by the demand of Kenyans, the way we live, what we have, the way we have, the way you have come up from those days. Finish election, you need to reward Mutambo because he was campaigning for you. Uhuru, don't give Mutambo job because he campaigned for you. Give Mutambo job because he can do it, because he can change lives of Kenyans, not because he was your chief campaigner. Don't give Mutambo job because he speaks eloquent English. Give him because he can do something. Don't give Mutambo job because he has so many degrees, and I think we debated that matter here, the papers, and that's what leads now to the children cheating in school because that certificate is so important. Do we nurture talent Do we employ people because they are able to deliver something to the country? What can you do? Let me tell you something which will shock you. Today, we buy power at 12 US cents per kilowatt. I can tell you, and I want to say today, on a national television, we can get power in this country at less than 2 US cents. And I dare everybody or anybody to come and ask me how. But you cannot get that position to explain how, why, because somebody wants to eat something. And this is the culture we have in our country, and we will never grow. We will never develop. We will keep on at the position we have. Status quo will remain. The rich will remain rich.
Right.
The poor will remain poor.
I want you to listen to a tweet that I saw that was so fundamental. Don't bother CS Mashera, who is in charge of transport, with petty issues like border, passenger buses, road safety, and speed governors. Hizo hazina pesa. He deals with big stuff like direct flights from Kenya and US, air safety, SGR, affordable housing, the Big Four agenda, and Chinese loans. Mheshimiwa, do you think that there's truth to that tweet?
Please, can you delete that? Are you in a position to delete that tweet?
No.
And whoever tweeted that, tell them.
Don't you not think there's a sense of honesty behind that tweet? There's a bit of truth?
No. You see what he's trying to inject. Let me tell you something.
Right.
What we pick is what we say. There is a power in the tongue, right? What you preach out there, that many people will believe into that, right? I would not treat it that way, and I would not said such a comment to the Kenyans.
Nerima, don't you not think there's truth in that tweet?
There is a lot, by the way, there's a lot of truth in it.
But?
There's a lot of truth in it, but it should not be, preached to Kenyans.
Why?
It's an insult.
To who?
To Kenyans.
No.
It's an insult.
I believe we felt Michuki. You know, we saw seatbelts coming into public safety vehicles. We saw...
There was action.
Yeah, there was. And so I think that that position does hold a lot of power when we talk about the safety of the ordinary citizen, because it's majority of citizens who are youth, who use those public service vehicles, who use those boda bodas, who have those boda bodas.